Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another episode from the Grandstands. Today we're getting excited for the Super Season opener at a sodden Sydney Motorsport Park. We talk Test cricket once again with New Zealand over in South Africa and Australia on their way to Pakistan. Also on the agenda, a wrap up on our favourite moments from the Winter Olympics that have just concluded. Kiwi gets excited about Super Rugby Pacific. I don't get excited about the Premier League, and everyone gets excited for the month ahead. All coming to you from the Grandstands with myself, Michael Zalavari, and Kiwi Chris Riddell. Good evening, Kiwi. How have you been?
Good evening, Michael. Good evening, everybody listening. And I have been amazing. It's been a hell of a month with sport and personal life, but we've got through it to this point. I can't wait to talk sport with you this time every month as we do.
Can you believe that we've already gotten through February, the shortest month of the year that felt like it was packed full of everything?
Well, the Winter Olympics, obviously.
Yeah, indeed.
But you had the footy coach with their preseason games, cricket ramping up, cricket winding up. It's just been hectic.
And then, of course, Supercars ramping up as well. We've had all of the livery reveals for all of the cars now, which is, of course, very, very important. And testing for all the new teams, and just everything's in motion now.
Yes, and we actually get underway in 4 days' time.
In 4 days' time? It's this weekend!
It's this weekend. It feels like it's been a long off-season, but hey, we would have started earlier because of Nui, but hey, let's bring it on.
Well, and also, we finished in December with Bathurst, so it's actually been a super compressed off season.
Yeah.
So, new liveries, of course. Everyone's released their new cars, of course. New teams, new sponsors, new everything for a few of these guys. The first question I want to ask is, which is the most awful looking cars this year? Because I think there's a few that, at least on paper, look a bit garish.
The Tickford cars always look friggin' terrible. the visual diarrhea that is the 55 usually.
Which one's that one now? The Castrol car. I actually think the Castrol car looks not too bad this year.
The Castrol car looks okay. Maybe it's 56, the one that's got whatever one it is. It's got 17 million sponsors and none of them share color schemes.
Yeah, that's true. I think you might be talking about the Boost car, James Courtney's car, but even then that looks mostly okay. They just kind of, I think the Boost one, that's similar to last year, James Courtney's car, but Cam Waters' car, the monster car, it's the same. It's matte black with the green. I mean, I guess that still works, but it's the same.
It's basically the same, but hey, if it's good livery, don't change it, right?
I mean, fair. I actually really quite like Jake Kostecki's car, just the black with the yellow trim with just tradie written on it. I'm sure that one will get a few people in the audience pretty excited.
It will. I'm a huge fan of actually Nick Percat's car as well.
The new Walkinshaw car, the NTI one. Yeah. I reckon they might be my favourite two cars in the field.
Yeah, you got the NTI one from Mick Percat, which is black and white and just looks stunning. And you got the number 2 there on the side. Really well done. And then Chaz Moster's Optus car with a little bit of teal accent as well.
I like the teal accent. I wish that Percat's car had an accent. I get NTI's, that's their colour scheme, but even if it just had a bit of a red accent, I think that would just make it pop just a little more.
That it would, and it would sort of link in with Walkinshaw's history, I guess.
Exactly. On a note of Walkinshaw's history, Chris, when was the last time Nick Percat ran the number 2?
When he won Bathurst?
When he won Bathurst in 2011, I believe it was. So that's a pretty cool callback.
Yeah, cool. Oh, I know what car I was thinking of. It wasn't bloody Tickford at all. It was Mark Winterbottom's one.
Yes, the Team 18. I think the problem with it is just the clash in colours.
Yeah, and the fact they've got a big Fuchs white blob on the front.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yuck. Yeah. Because blue and yellow is a pretty classic colour combo.
Irwin Tools, yeah, it's what they've, we think back to how long they've been around. The blue and yellow just works. Stone
Brothers days.
Exactly. Then you got Bunnings Trade with their God Awful Green. It's caking up the rear quarter panel.
Oh.
And then it looks like, honestly, it looks like shit.
Holding
I'm
no
not gonna
punches
talk about
here.
that.
See, the thing is, they've got basically the same sort of idea on Scott Pye's car with the red Toyota forklift thing on the black and white Seiko, but that looks so cool in comparison.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it just looks. I don't know why. No visual. I mean, I guess I don't know. Red, white, and black are so overdone in motorsport, but it's overdone for a reason because it just looks good.
Yeah, it's overdone because it works.
The other car I like. This might surprise you. The 78, the subway car.
I actually was going to say the same thing. It's so different, but it's so good.
It's also 76. It's also so good to see a non-traditional sponsor coming in.
Yeah, indeed. It's good to see that different companies are willing to buy in and make it happen. I mean, it is, Team Premier. Is it Team Premier? Yeah, it is.
Premier Racing, yeah.
So, it is... They are starting at the bottom, but still, a full body wrap. That's gonna look awesome, and it's gonna look awesome because it's so different.
Yeah.
Speaking of not looking different, though, what do we think about the Erebus cars, the Blanchard car, the Penrite cars, the Red Bull car, and the Dick Johnson car?
I mean, boring, but honestly, the Erebus cars. The boost cars look good anyway.
That's true. And it is like an evolution of what they did last year. Yeah. So they get a pass.
They get a pass. Brad
Jones, they get a pass as well.
They get a pass, but they also rotate liveries every 2 weeks, it seems. So
yeah, exactly. It's hard to be boring when you've got a new livery every week.
Yep. Red Bull and DJR. Come on, guys. Try harder. I mean, maybe not so much for DJR because the Shell livery is so iconic nowadays.
Oh, but... it's the same. Oh, I had a go at this in the comments thread on a post on r/V8 Supercars, and I got absolutely flamed. But, at least Red Bull change up their trim colours. It's now, white and blue, and a few years ago it was, dark blue, and before that it was red. And so, they're changing up their trim. It's... the Shell cars, it's literally the same livery. It's the same. It's been the same for 5 years. It's the same livery. I'm so bored of it.
Well, perhaps I won't be up the front as much this year for you to notice it. So
good. No, I'm not that mean. Yeah, I just wish they'd change it up because there's so many different iconic Shell liveries. And I just don't think it's a good livery anyway. I think it's just boring. Do you hate me now?
No, I don't hate you because you're right.
Okay, that's nice.
I mean, as much as I want to disagree, I'm not going to disagree for the sake of disagreeing. I'm not a politician.
Oof. Topical. Probably. I don't know. Who talks about politics anymore? Certainly not us. What we're going to talk about instead is testing and the testing programs at Winton for the Victorian teams and at Queensland Ipswich for the Queensland teams. What did we learn from testing, Kiwi? What did we learn?
We learned that Brock Feeney's gone up to speed pretty quickly. But really, I don't read too much into testing at all.
Yeah, it's one of those things that people like to get all up in arms and excited about testing times and all that sort of stuff. But testing's one of those things where the more boring it is, the better it is.
Basically, teams use it to just blow out the cobwebs. To give you an idea of how not serious they took it in Queensland, there was a Porsche Carrera Cup car on the track at the same time as the V8 Supercars.
Yeah, exactly. And,
it almost was an incident where it locked up in front of one of the cars.
Yeah, in front of one of the Matt Stone cars. I think that was Todd Hazelwood behind the wheel as well.
Yeah. So it's just a cobweb session, really. And you get, 3 test sessions a year.
Yeah, and a cobweb session also just to, a verification to make sure that all the installs have worked properly and everything's exactly where it needs to be. And the surprising thing for me was that there just was no surprises. The only incident of note was Kostecki bowling a wide at turn 2 at Winton. But other than that, it was they had to manufacture something on the Supercars website to actually talk about anything.
Yeah, I mean, turn 2 at Winton is so slow. You're not going to have any real consequences from bowling a wide there.
My apologies. It wasn't turn 2. It was turn 5. He did a Scott McLaughlin.
Oh well,
that's a little more significant.
A little more significant, but for a rookie, that's fine. So really, all the teams. I mean, for teams like Premier, new team gets a chance to make sure their systems are working. But really, it's just a case of, yep, we're here now. We're back into championship mode now. Let's go, guys.
Yeah, and back into the mood. Like, you think about guys like Lee Holdsworth, who's not had a main game start for, what is it now, 2 seasons or a season, and now he's gearing up for a race this weekend. So important for him to get some miles in. And then on the flip side, similar story, but the other way around for Fabian Coulthard, who's jumped in. He jumped in for Chaz Mostert's car for a few laps to get an idea of how Mostert sets up a car, to get familiar with that. So remarkably boring is what testing is, which is good.
Yeah, it's not like Formula One where everyone gets all very much overzealous and thinking, "Oh my God, Ferrari's 100s ahead; they're going to win everything this year." It's not like that.
And even then, the amount of predictions you see come from those testing sessions and then just end up completely wrong because come the first race week, everyone's got a little bit in their back pocket.
Yeah. Sandbags.
Exactly right. Now, it is, of course, the first race of the year this weekend. Blimey, that's come on quick.
Hasn't it?
Indeed. But, of course, we're back at Sydney again. Yay.
Ugh. Yay. To be fair, they're 300k races, so it's not terrible this time because they're actually going to, just like we talked last show, Sydney Motorsport Park works well for long distance races.
Yeah, this is true, but I'm struggling to feel excited about literally our 5th round at the same track in 6 rounds. Like, it's call it oversaturation, but it's oversaturation.
Given everything, it's the best option Supercars had, so...
Yeah, this is true. With Newey being put on hold once again because of COVID/construction, and, like, if you needed to base it in New South Wales, like, I guess you could go back to Bathurst, but even then, you were just at Bathurst, like...
Yeah, and what other tracks are there? Oran Park doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, you made me sad.
Yeah, so, it's the best option. Wakefield Park?
It's Wakefield Park. Does Wakefield Park even have an FIA rating?
No, but a man can dream.
A man shouldn't dream if it's about Wakefield Park, Chris. Man shouldn't dream.
True.
What do you think of the format? So you mentioned 300-kilometer races, a twilight race again on the Saturday night, and a afternoon race on Sunday. This is similar, but not the same as the last set of races. In fact, it might be the same as the last set of races that we had at the end of last year. Do you reckon that's the format to go with to start the season?
If you think about Adelaide, one of the things that worked there was having the 250s. So in that way, it's similar, and I like the idea of having a nice long blowout to start the season. The tyre rules in play for this weekend as well are another level of intrigue. I think it's great.
I agree. I think it's better than having a sprint round.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
If you have 3 120s, it's not as exciting. And of course, this is one of the rounds that'll be on free-to-air. So having a longer Saturday night prime time free-to-air with none of the footy codes really up and about yet, and you've got eyeballs on the race for 2.5 hours. Yeah,
it's good way to corner the market early. Good way to build the hype. Yeah. I do certainly miss that about Adelaide, though. I don't think... I mean, of the permanent racetracks, Sydney's probably the busiest outside of the Bend, so offers the most challenge. But still, it's not the same as the arduous, terrifying conditions of Adelaide in the summer with the curbs, with turn 8 and the margins and all that sort of stuff.
That's very true, and I think it's play more next year. Like, for example, the last thing you want, and this is probably one of the only things about Adelaide I didn't necessarily like. There's nothing worse than starting off your season with a wrecked car.
Yeah, I mean, Brad Jones is probably
very happy. He's breathing a massive sigh of relief with starting at Sydney.
Yeah. In before two of his 4 cars gets destroyed in Sydney. Yeah, like, I totally understand that, but if you wanted a really hard way to start a season, Adelaide was the way to do it. And I think that's in part why Bathurst for me fell flat a little bit as in the opening round last year. And part of that is because it wasn't Bathurst, but because, like, it wasn't the same sort of test in that sort of sense. I don't know. I just miss Adelaide is the thing. I really miss. I miss the Supercars in Adelaide.
As do I. As does everybody, I think. Apart
and
from
we'll talk a bit about that in a sec.
Yeah.
More points on the start of the season. The support action's pretty decent. We've got Aussie Racing Cars, Toad 86, Super 2, Touring Car Masters as the support bill. So that's 4 pretty decent championships. So, I mean...
That's the usual Supercar support package, so that's not too bad at all.
Exactly right. I'm pretty excited to see the Aussie Racing Cars tear up Sydney Motorsport Park. If they get a big, large field, they're going to have a whale of a time.
And they're capable of going 5 wide into turn 1.
Don't test them, they'll do it.
I mean, maybe not on the exit, but on the entry at least.
Yes, there's absolutely no way that ends in tears at all.
No, of course not.
Anything from that do you think that's missing?
Well, we got Super 2, Super 3 combined, I'm assuming. And that's 34 cars. So that's all pretty cool.
Oh, I'm not sure that that's actually the case.
Oh, they're not sharing a grid this week?
So I got 33 cars. So I assume, so probably still, combined. You are correct, sir. My apologies.
Gonna say, I'm sure I was right.
It would be the first time.
Yes, it would.
I'm sorry, that was a bit mean.
I mean, you're right.
Oof. Ouch. Self-burn. That's rare.
But no, I think I'm pretty happy with that support grid, unless you're going to say something like a GT race. But I think it's 4 support categories plus the main event. Thursday through Sunday. Fine.
The only thing that stands out to me that's like actually missing is Carrera Cup.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Porsche fan. I'm saying that because Carrera Cup would be nuts. And it would be a good preview for getting entries involved in Bathurst, the 12-hour that's coming up in May now.
Especially now that's gone to a Pro-Am.
Exactly. And that Carrera Cup is one of the categories again.
Yes. I was just having a look as well. There's no other category doing a night race, is there? TCM may be at 7 o'clock on Friday night. But that's qualifying, so I don't know. When's Sunset?
Sunset, well, at least for me at the moment, Sunset's been about 8:15 and getting slightly earlier. I'm not sure if it's later up in the New South Wales sort of area.
Yeah, so Supercars is the only night race amongst all the support categories, which is a bit of a shame because I think, I think last year they ran Carrera Cup at night on the Friday.
Yeah, that would have been, that was cool.
Yeah. But still within, so that's fine. 70, and it's, so that's fine.
Are you brave enough to make any predictions?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's go.
It's gonna absolutely be saturated. So Shane Vinkersbergen's probably your out and out favourite.
Yeah, that's another talking point here. I brought up of course, if you're not in Australia at the moment, you might be unaware that basically the entire eastern seaboard of Australia is underwater. So Queensland, New South Wales have been just having record deluges in terms of rain to the point where some communities have been cut off. Like the cricket ground that South Australia is meant to be playing in Queensland for a Sheffield Shield game is basically underwater. It's kind of messed up.
Yeah, Suncorp Stadium is basically turned into a 20 by 20 meter island surrounded by a sea.
Yeah, so it's been a little heckers is a clean way, a nice way to put it. So, how's this for tomorrow's forecast? We're recording on Wednesday. On Thursday. We're recording on Tuesday here tonight. And tomorrow's forecast for Sydney is 150 to 200 millimeters of rain.
That's basically what they'd get in a week.
That's apocalyptic.
Yeah. And that is going to basically continue like that through till Monday.
Yes. So, with that in mind, do we see races this weekend?
Ooh.
That is the big question.
We lost the race at Sydney last year because of weather.
We lost 2 races in Sydney last year because of weather.
Well, yes. So, I I know there's been talk of people saying, come on, postpone it already, but I don't think we have a window to do that. So I really hope we do get racing this weekend. Even if it's a 200k race, just give us something, please. Rain at the dark, though. That's a terrible combination for these supercars.
I think, much like last year, if it rains while they're already racing, we'll be fine until someone bins it. As soon as someone bins it, you're done. Because the track conditions just get too wet without the cars circulating around to keep some of the standing water off of it. Yeah, at least the forecast is improving. They're only expecting 40 mil of rain on Sunday, which, still is a lot.
Yeah. That's after you've had half a meter's worth of rain before that point.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, if the ground is going to be that soaked, it might just be impossible.
Do we have any teams sponsored by outboard motor companies?
Not yet, but I see a window of opportunity here. There is, of course, the V8 Powerboat series, which may be making a return to Eastern Creek. We never know. I sincerely hope that we get some racing in, because it doesn't look pretty.
Yeah, and we should probably mention as well, in Queensland they've had over a metre of rain in some parts, and we've actually had some significant losses there. So our thoughts go out to everyone dealing with those flood situations in Queensland at the moment, and now the top half of New South Wales.
Yeah, indeed. It's a funny old thing, this country. Half of it's underwater and half of it's on fire at any one time.
Yeah.
Fingers, arms, legs, toes, and eyes crossed. But assuming we do get some racing, are you brave enough to make some predictions for whether or not we do get racing and what will happen if we do?
We do. Shane Van Gisbergen's out and out favourite, I reckon.
How do you reckon Feeney's going to do?
Baptism of fire.
With the 88 on the door as well. With the 88 on the door.
Yeah. Look, I think he's good enough to do well enough that we won't be like, what the hell is he doing? But this is going to be a really tough first race for him. Let's not forget as well, everything in that team has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. With Couchy gone, Shippy gone, who's actually engineering their cars now?
I did have a list of that up and I've just lost it.
We are the most prepared podcasters, of course.
Because Speed Cafe actually did something with that on Triple Eight. So the Brock Feeney's going to have Martin Short, and J. Gizzy's got Andrew Edwards, who I think's sort of been like the next level down from Couchy and Shippy. So
this is going to be really, really interesting for them, because while they have the reigning champion and the out and out best team in the pit lane, the engineering department is almost, arguably, more important than the actual drivers in the seats.
Yeah. And this is one of the reasons why in the livery chat in the V8 sub for Nick Percat, where I said he had number 2 on the car, I made a comment that I reckon Walkinshaw might have numbers 1 and 2 next year.
Ooh, numbers 1 and 2?
Yep.
And that's because Shippy's at Walkinshaw, isn't he?
Yes, and you can guess which of the 2 drivers he's with.
Chaz Mostert and Nick Percat, absolutely.
Yeah, he's Adam DeBoer with them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which is just a great partnership. Shippy's, I don't know where Shippy's gone to.
Okie dokie. And it's interesting because you're going to get this sort of ladder, because Couchy hasn't gone to engineer at Grove Racing. He's gone to manage the team. So as team principal, so he's taking the overarching lead role there, kind of like what Jeremy Moore did for Triple Eight last year.
Yeah, and of course Grant McPherson, Shippy, is head of performance at Walkinshaw, so he's still involved. So he'll still be around that team giving his input, no doubt. So that's kind of scary. And with Chaz's driving ability, where that car, I reckon that car's going to be, the personnel behind it, that's why I reckon they could be 1, 2. Or have car numbers 1 and 2 next year.
That's pretty interesting. And it'll be cool to see which combinations get it right earlier. And that's why, again, it's been good that testing has been boring, because if testing has been boring, it means they're actually working through their programs and they're getting closer to that point quicker.
one point of funniness: Lee Hodsworth, engineer this year at Grove Racing,
Will Davidson.
not the driver.
Not the driver. No, not Will Davidson. And it was very funny how many articles did not clarify that in the title and instead forced you to click it going, wait, what?
Yeah, he's been sacked. No, what is this? No, he's fine. He's still racing, and his wife is now in the commentary team too.
Yes, Rihanna is back, which I'm sure, like, that's cool. Like, Rihanna was very good at her job. It's good to have her back.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
that's the only change from the commentary lineup this year, which is fantastic.
Like that's really, really good to hear. After the whole off-season malarkey last time with Mark Larkham, it's good that they've stuck with it. And
yes,
I mean, it's the best commentary group in the world, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I saw on the NASCAR stuff how much they're blowing up about the Fox commentators on that, and I'm just like, we're so lucky.
We really are so lucky, and it's something that I think people who watch Supercars maybe don't appreciate, because you don't know how good you've got it until you don't. And so, like, for us who watch a lot of worldwide motorsports, which maybe doesn't have such a high production value and such a good quality of commentary and analysis, and that's not because the people behind the scenes are bad at their jobs. It's just because they don't have the experience and expertise and the funding really to do it properly. The fact that we have this as our normal, as our baseline, is such a privilege.
Absolutely. Only thing that would improve it is when Greg Murphy can finally get over here.
Yes, of course. The Kiwi wants the Kiwi commentator. Ugh.
Yeah, same reason Greg Russ struggles, because he's living in New Zealand as well.
Oh, really? I didn't realize he'd moved to New Zealand.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought he was still based in Sydney doing stuff.
I think he's got bases in both.
Yeah. There you go. I did not know that. I guess also you're like an IndyCar stand now.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't take long, did it?
No. I mean, to be fair, I did kind of enjoy it, but now that I've got Stan Sport and Scotty Max won a race.
You can't see me, but I'm just shaking my head and rolling my eyes.
I think it's going to be a great season, but that's for another podcast.
That is, yeah, absolutely for another podcast.
We're not on.
Ooh. Youch.
No.
I'm hurt by that. I would not be surprised to see DJR up near the pointy end again, because they were in Sydney at the end of last year. But I think that the Groves and MSR, actually, I think that MSR might actually find their way into the top 10. I hope so, at least.
That's fairly bold.
Well, I mean, yeah. It was interesting to me reading bits and pieces from the testing notes, how excited Todd Hazelwood was to be back at MSR and in that car. It seemed to me initially like a downgrade, but he seems to be a lot happier and a lot more excited for the coming season.
Yeah, I just saw that article then as well. So, he's saying he's really learned how to drive this Triple 8 car, Triple 8 built car. So, yeah, okay, I can see that. And he's got a decent engineer with Chris Stuckey, so...
Exactly.
Possibly?
It'll be interesting to see how the totem pole shakes out, whether or not, for example, Team 18 can continue to hold their place at the edge of the top 10, or if they get overthrown by Erebus or MSR, or where Brad Jones slots into that now without Percat. It's going to be a fascinating opening to the season.
Absolutely. As long as we get a good one.
As long as we get a race.
Yes.
I'm all for safety in motorsports, but I'd love to see a race. But, of course, if it's unsafe, you got to call it off. But I'd love to see a race.
Yes, I would just love to see something on track, please. And I don't want to come back to Sydney again this year, so can we please just get it done?
Please. Just pretty please. Pretty please with sugar on top.
Yes.
There is the possibility, though, for a change in the Supercars calendar. Very late change, very late on in the season for the Supercars calendar.
Tell me more.
There's a bit of a saga to this. So, we already mentioned earlier in the show the Adelaide 500, how that has been cancelled. Well, it was cancelled for last season and is currently not on the market to be continued. However, there is a bit of a backstory going on, and there's a very important day coming up this month, which may decide whether or not the Adelaide 500 returns as the season closer for the Supercars this year. This year.
Ooh, it's not my baby's birth, is it?
No, we just hope it doesn't, it's not like a Cthulhu that comes out of there.
Of course. You're talking about something in Adelaide, South Australia.
Wow, okay. Rude. No, so there's a bit of a saga. So let's do a little bit of a catch up. So for those who were not aware, the Adelaide 500 is the only Supercars Hall of Fame event on the Supercars calendar. That's right, not even Bathurst is the Supercars Hall of Fame event. So it is an event that is cherished by the Supercars community as well as the motorsport community in South Australia, and also just the regular community in South Australia. But it is an event run by the state government. So the state government forks up the funds for it and actually is the promoter of the event. So it's not actually a Supercars promoted event. Now, that's an important thing because most of the championship races, and I think including Newcastle and the Gold Coast and Townsville, are Supercars run events, Supercars promoted events. So it's actually... Pardon?
Yeah, Townsville definitely is.
Yeah.
The only ones I think are actually not Supercars run as well are Winton.
Yeah, because that's run by the Victorian... I'm not sure if it's the Victorian Regional Car Club or
Same people who did the Australian Motor Racing Series.
Oh, okay.
They're one and the same.
Yeah, there you go.
And the other one's Albert Park, obviously, that's Grand Prix.
Yeah. And the Bend as well is run by the Shahins themselves, so the operators of the Bend.
But basically everything else...
Supercars events. So what that means is that the event is basically at the mercy of the state government, and the current state government has, over their over their administration, had been slowly pulling money out of the event, which made it into a bad event, which then allowed them to turn around and say, this event is bad, we don't want to do it anymore. So for those who have been regular attenders of the Adelaide 500, this was clear as day. It was clear as day to see that there was less going on, worse use of the facilities, and just a less enjoyable, less involved event to be a part of. Now, when that event got cancelled in the latter stages of 2020, it became a promise by the opposition government that it would, if they were elected, that they'd bring it back. And they went and doubled down on that by signing a memorandum of understanding, I think that's the right word, with Supercars to say, we are putting in a pre-contract now, effectively. If we get elected, we will run this event. And that has been basically one of the cornerstones of the opposition government's campaign. And the state election is this month. So, pretty big deal. If the opposition gets voted into government, we will have the Adelaide 500 again. And there's plenty of other political reasons, to vote for whatever. But for me, as a fan of the event, as a fan of sports, car racing and motorsports and cars in South Australia, as a fan of things like the festivals that South Australia puts on and the sort of city life and the nightlife around that part of town, I think it's an important thing that the event exists, and I will be putting that to a good effect when I go vote. And again, we don't want to be political, but this is explicitly a motorsport political issue.
Yeah, and only 3 seats need to flip, or 4 seats need to flip for there to be a change.
So if you're in South Australia and you do want to see the Supercars come back, and all a bunch of other good reasons why, I think it is a good idea to vote for to cast a vote for the Adelaide 500. I'm really trying to avoid being political, to say, vote Labour. No, I don't want you to just do that, but it's been...
Take it into consideration.
Exactly, yeah. I don't know. I don't know how to be political. I just like ranting about motorsports.
Look, vote however you want, as long as it's not United Australia Party.
That I will agree with. Okay, so and if that goes ahead, it will be December 4th. It'll be December 4th this year that we'll have the season finale in Adelaide, which will be awesome. So if you want that to happen, and I think it's a good idea, that's how you get it to happen effectively.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of further reading you could do. There's a journalist who writes for a few South Australian papers called Cara Jenkin. You can find her on Twitter. I think her handle is V8 Girl Cara or something along those lines. She's basically done 2 or 3 articles, doing a much better job of explaining the whole situation than I have. And her articles are well worth a read. And so check that out.
Are we done with politics?
Yes, please.
Good.
Let's talk about cricket. That's never been political in its entire history.
No, I can't think of any political issues with that at all.
You guys just played South Africa, didn't you? You guys did fairly well.
Well, in the first test.
Oh, there was a second test?
Yeah, let's not talk about that so much, because that came to an end today. But yeah, the first test was great. So both test matches were actually held at Hagley Park in Christchurch. No, my old, and one of the favourite grounds and somewhere I've been to. And
your old stomping grounds.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So the first test, which I will talk about a lot more, New Zealand. Oh, so South Africa batted first. 95.
Oof. And for those who don't know cricket, 95 is bad.
That is abysmal. And that was with Matt Henry taking 7 for 23 or 15 overs, which was a phenomenal bowling display. Of course, I think he basically took the role of Trent Bolt, who didn't play this match.
Yep.
And then New Zealand turned around and put 482 on the board.
Oof. There is an old adage in cricket that you don't judge a pitch until both teams are batted on it, or you don't judge a score until both teams are batted on it.
Yeah. I mean, the pitch, yes, it was somewhat bowler-friendly. It does have a habit of flattening out after day 2, but still.
484, did you say?
482.
Blimey.
With Henry Nichols scoring 105, Tom Blundell being dismissed for 96, and Mr. Sevenfer, Matt Henry, coming in at 11, knocking 58.
That's brilliant. That is outstanding. At 11, and hitting 58.
Yeah. And this is after Tim Southey went out for 4, so it was him and Colin de Grunholm basically just bludgeoning.
When was the last time you saw a number 11 batsman score a 50?
Glenn McGrath.
Fair shout. Against New Zealand, in fact.
Yeah. It would be close to a decade ago now.
Close to a decade. Try 2.
Yeah,
that would have been 2004. There is one that is more recent in my memory, and that was Ashton Agar 98 not out against England in England.
Yes, that's true. But he's not really a number 11.
I mean, he batted number 11.
Yeah, true, but you can't.
But he's not. He batted number 11.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Anyway, for the context, number 11 is where you put your worst batsman.
Yeah, it's where you put me. Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
You put me at 12 if you could. So anyway, so South Africa facing a deficit of 385 runs. Start their innings by being 3 for 4.
For those who don't know cricket, that's bad.
Yeah, that
sounds like a soccer score.
Basically, yeah. They did fight back a bit and ended up all out for a 111. So
over the course of the test match, they scored 200 runs, whereas New Zealand scored 480 in one innings.
Yeah, so basically that game was over in 2.5 days.
Blimey.
And Matt Henry, another 2 wickets, obviously man of the match, because who the hell else could there be man of the match there?
I mean, if you take 7 for, you'd be hard-pressed to not get man of the match.
7 for and a 50.
And a 50, yeah, damn. What about second game, Chris?
Second game, South Africa figured out what the heck they were doing. And basically were just all over New Zealand. 364 in the first innings. Bowled New Zealand out for 293. So not
That's pretty competitive. Like,
it's pretty competitive, but it took a lot of rebuilding to get to that point.
Yeah, so South Africa clearly ahead, but not insurmountably so.
Yeah. That 364 was, you had Cyril Irwi. I'm going to struggle with that name. He, South African players, knock a ton. He's the South African opener.
Yep.
And Dean Algo chipped in with 40 up top as well. New Zealand's innings really was saved by Colin de Grandholm and Daryl Mitchell. When they came in, New Zealand were 83 for 4. Those two put on 180 between them before Daryl Mitchell was out LBW.
And then that must have been like the collapse at the tail then after that.
Yeah, basically, Colin de Grandholm made 120, and then it was just bang, bang, bang. Neil Wagner put a bit of a fight, as he does, as you expect from him. He just doesn't know any other way than fighting, batting or bowling.
That is true. He is a fiery young man.
He is. So he ended up 293 all out. South Africa's second innings, really, their keeper, Kyle Verreynne, scored 136, not out. So they ended up declaring after 100 overs, 354 for 9. So that set New Zealand 426, which is not insurmountable.
It's pretty insurmountable.
I mean, look, we've seen it before, and this is, of course, on day 4. Oh, sorry, no, is it day 4? Yeah, it's day 4. So you can do it if you bat well, and for a while there, we looked like we were in trouble because we had no chance.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, we were 6 for 2. Devon Conway tried to save the match with a 92, a gutsy 92. Tom Blundell chipping with another 100 balls blocked out. But in the end, all out for 227.
Looks like you just ran out of bats.
Basically.
I mean, well, you did because you got all out. Interesting that South Africa were able to turn it around from the first test so quickly and come back with like two innings above 350. That's what you would be after.
Yeah, that's not too bad at all. And I think we made it to we made it to T, but we made it to T9 down.
Yeah,
you're not going to bat out 2 hours for a draw with Neil Wagner and Matt Henry blocking the balls for 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Once you get to that point, you're in struggle street.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Test series ended 1-1, which pretty much kills New Zealand's chances of making the Test Championship final.
Yeah, I had a look at that. So for those who are maybe less familiar with the way that world cricket works at the moment, they've got something called the World Test Championship, which is basically a rolling 2-year competition wherein you get scored based on the maximum amount of games you can win. So basically, if you play 12 games and you win 10 of them, you've done better than a team that plays 8 games and wins 6 of them. Yeah. So like basically, the closer you get to winning all your games, the more likely you are to end up in the final. So New Zealand are the current holders of the World Test Championship, aren't they?
Are indeed, after a great game against India.
Yeah, indeed, and a great 2 years where they basically just didn't lose throughout the entire cycle. And in fact, had Australia not gotten a freaking penalty for taking forever to bowl their overs in one of their games, they would have been in the final ahead of New Zealand.
Well, sucks to be you.
It does sometimes, yeah. But at the moment, if you guys aren't going to be in the World Test Championship final, that's going to be a pretty rough way for this cycle for you guys.
Yeah, it's tough to see how we can do it from where we are currently 6th on the ladder with a percentage of 38. So it's going to be tough.
You have to basically just win everything that you play for the next 2 years.
Yeah, which isn't actually that many games.
We
got two tests against Sri Lanka, 3 against England, and they're all away.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The England ones are away. The Sri Lanka ones are at home, so we might win those. But England in England, never easy.
No, not at all, and especially with their swing bowling stocks as well. Hopefully, they find some other batsmen other than Joe Root, though.
You want to hope. Well,
yeah.
hopefully they realise that their old bowlers are still good for one more home season.
Oh my gosh, the English cricket team at the moment, my word. I get that they are very, very old, and I'm using two varies there to emphasize how old they are in sporting terms. So Jimmy Anderson is what, 41?
Yep. And Brody's 36.
36. Okay.
Yep.
So why would you not still keep hold of them in your team when they have between them 1,000 wickets?
Yeah. When they're still good enough to bowl at the top level of cricket.
And like without even like a phone call to say, by the way, we're not taking you to the West Indies.
Yeah.
English cricket at the moment are a bit of a shambles. And like, don't like to rag on anyone who's doing sport, but if you're going to rag on anyone, English cricket is a great target because they just seem to be making bad decisions all the time. And who doesn't like to see England not doing well?
English people.
Was that the right amount of negatives in that sense? I'm pretty sure the English also like, they don't like to, they love to hate their team.
The media especially.
That's true.
Speaking of teams that are making bad decisions lately.
You're not about to say Australia, are you?
Yes.
Oh, blimey. Here we go. What bad decisions have we made?
Well, for one, you got rid of Justin Langer, and it was really, I mean, you can get rid of him if you want, but the way they handled that was probably the worst way I've ever seen Australian cricket handle anything. And Australian cricket is known for being a basket case in sporting circles, in the admin side of things.
Yeah, oof. Look,
and apparently they dropped someone else just tonight.
They dropped someone else just tonight?
Yeah, I just saw the article before. I'm just trying to get it up again. Apparently they've sacked someone on the eve of the Pakistan tour.
What? Oh my gosh. Okay, so the thing with Justin Langer was the coach for the past 5 years. Generally, they work in 5-year cycles or 5-year contracts. I think Langer was a great coach for instilling some sort of personality, belief, and character into what was a very fragmented, niche and isolated group. He has always been about playing with heart and playing for the badge and feeling and being a part of every single moment. That he played and that he would instill it in those players as well. I am not sure if his technical expertise extends beyond that, and so I am not surprised that at this point in time, Cricket Australia is looking to move on. As far as the ins and outs of how explicitly everything was handled, I have no comment because I wasn't there. I just think it was dumb. But
it was their physio they sacked today.
Oh, really? Blimey.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's an entirely different story.
But the best decision they've made, they're in Pakistan. International cricket back in Pakistan after 12 years.
Something along those lines. It would have been 2009 that was the last time that any high-profile team has played a game in Pakistan. So
yeah, and when the Sri Lankan team was attacked.
Yeah,
2009
in Lahore. So this is a huge deal. This is a huge deal. It is difficult to overstate how big a deal this is. The last time international cricket was played actually in Pakistan. The last time Pakistan played in Pakistan. The last time, that Test cricket was played in Pakistan was 2009. Australia was meant to go over in 2018, but then pulled out of it, I think. In fact, the last time Australia played in Pakistan was 1998. So it's been 24 years since, wow, that seems weird to say, 24 years since Australia last played in Pakistan. So it's a pretty big deal in terms of like international cricket relations. And I know that sounds very dumb to say, but that's absolutely a thing. We try not to talk about politics here. International cricket is a freaking political landmine in itself.
Yeah. And no, and they've really ramped up security, something crazy here. Something like 4,000 staff or 4,000 police and security staff will be
guarding the hotel
for this basically the 6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So the article I'm reading here is saying that they're given head of state level security. Remember, this is for a bunch of guys who throw throw a ball and hit it with a bat. Like they've been given literally the royal treatment when it comes to security over the course of the 6 weeks they're going to be staying there. So it's pretty hardcore. And Australia hasn't just sent over a token team either. It's a lot of the main players. You know, Pat Cummins, captain. Harris, Hazelwood, Kawaja, Labuschagne, all the guys that you would expect are there. And then also there's a few reserves as well to come in and step into the team. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this goes. And I am most hopeful that the crowds are respectful, the crowds enjoy it, and this can be a pilot program for getting cricket back into Pakistan safely.
Yeah, and I think what's going to work in their favour is every game, basically, apart from the second and third test, are at the one ground, the Rawalpindi Stadium.
Yep.
So that, from a logistic point of view, that makes things really easy. We're talking 3 tests, 3 one-days, and a T20. So being able to lock that in for such a prolonged period, apart from going to Karachi and Lahore, because you can't not play a game in Lahore.
Yeah, clearly.
Because, you're going to get 20 million people at the stadium.
I saw on r/cricket that tickets for the first 3 days are already sold out. I think for the first test, which is pretty nuts.
That's pretty cool. Of course, that's that's an 18,000-seater stadium, so that's fine. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this goes and how Australia handled, because it's been such a long time since we've seen people play in Pakistani conditions.
Yeah, indeed. And
I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen.
And this is a very interesting thing because subcontinental conditions, so, India, Bangladesh, to an extent, Pakistan has always been renowned as like the dust bowls, the spinner's paradise, where it will spin like at right angles and it's very, very hard to stay together, it's very hard to mentally get through having to concentrate that hard every single ball. But Pakistan has created some incredible swing bowlers as well. And it's kind of not the antithesis of the sort of dust bowl environment, but it's not something that you're very much used to seeing in the subcontinent. You're not used to seeing like good exponents of swing bowling while playing in subcontinental conditions.
I think 2 of the best swing bowlers of all time.
Wasim Akram and Waqar Younis. Yeah. In unison as well. Look at us.
Yeah. We are good.
So
it's going to be really interesting. So he's like people like Harris Rauf. He is going to absolutely, and he's from Rawalpindi. So he's going to absolutely love it there. Love playing there. I reckon he's going to be the bowler to watch from the Pakistani side.
Okay. I was leaning more towards Shaheen Shah Afridi,
he's also very good.
Yeah, who's basically the Pakistan version of Brett Lee, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that actually kicks off this weekend, March 4th. So I will be keeping a keen eye on that over the weekend, as well as the Supercars. It'll be good to watch.
Absolutely, and it'll be I think time zone means it starts about 3 o'clock Aussie time.
Oh, brilliant. Knock off work, grab a beer, straight to the TV.
Yeah, basically. So that's brilliant. That's perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Speaking of perfect timing as well, how good was having the Winter Olympics on this side of the planet?
Oh, yes.
Nothing like being able to watch like sport in the afternoon.
Yeah, starting at midday, going through till 2 in the morning. Perfect.
It was absolutely perfect. Winter Olympics, Chris, what did you watch? What did you get around?
I didn't watch much the second week because pregnancy stuff, but I really
You're
got around
pregnant?
Oh, it looks like I am, but I'm not.
No,
I really got around... Still good. Really got around the sliding events, as I alluded to. And that was... I'll come to that later when we talk about our top moments.
How did I know that was good? Continue, sorry.
The short track speed skating.
That was awesome. Thank you for turning me on to that. That was so good.
Yeah, that was just so much fun. A lot of controversy, and I want to touch on that again later as well.
Okay.
I watched a lot of the downhill skiing as well, because that downhill course, I don't think I've seen anything quite as crazy as that.
It was a killer. It like not a literal killer, but so many people missing gates really early on, and it became a challenge just to get down the course.
Like 10 seconds into the run, you've got this really tricky jump that leads into a gate that you wouldn't normally be able to get into. And
then you're done. If you miss it, you're done. That's it. Your Olympics are over.
Yeah, so that was fun. And then also, obviously, the curling I was watching a lot of. That was pretty much my games. What were you into?
I also got around the speed skating. That was awesome. I think having Stephen Bradbury as a commentator for the speed skating, how good.
Masterstroke. I miss Dirk Nannis on commentary.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Damn it.
Dirk Nannis, again, for those unaware who may not be Australian and don't know who the hell we're talking about, was a Netherlands expat who played cricket for Australia, for the Netherlands, and also commentated on skating.
And was also has competed in World Cup events and moguls.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I did not know that about Dirk Nannis.
Yeah, there's a reason he commentates winter games, because he actually used to compete in winter sport.
Yeah, fair enough. And I also, because the sliding tended to be the last thing on, I watched a bit of that. And of course, I watched all the biathlon. I love the biathlon.
Yeah, the biathlon. What I watched of it was really cool. I'm glad you got me into that a bit.
Yes, we got another one.
Wicathlon has got another victim.
We got another victim. There's dozens of us.
Dozens. I enjoyed it. I think what I really loved about it was seeing how, because I had this in my mind, like how tough it was, but then I see winds blowing an absolute gale. They're actually missing targets because it's so difficult. And it's just like, holy crap, that the fact they're even getting close enough, like they're missing targets, and you see it on the camera by like maybe a millimeter.
Mm.
And it's a target that's 40 millimeters wide?
It's 45 millimeters wide in the prone, 115 millimeters in the stand.
Yeah, and that little margin, and in the event, especially where you're adding a minute on per miss.
Oh, gosh, that's the worst.
Yeah. And I think there was one person who had 10 misses over 20 shoots.
Yeah, you really feel for someone like that, because you know that, like, there's no point just, like, even competing. The only reason that you're getting around is just to finish at that stage.
But I did enjoy what I've watched of that, so...
Yeah, it was really, really cool. The course in China was really, really difficult, and it was a combination of a lot of things. I think, like, the altitude being 1,600 meters above sea level, the cold, it was like -14, -15 degrees, and then on top of that you add the wind and these really, really tough, sharp climbs as well. It looked like a bad time. It looked like an Olympics where you don't want to be a biathlete.
Yes. The snow as well.
Yeah, as well. The artificial snow meant that it was really slow to skate on. Slow to ski on rather, which means that like in an oxygen deficient environment where your body is burning energy just to stay warm and it's windy as anything, you're also gliding slower and having to do more work just to move. So it looked like a bad time, and like even some of the later rounds, you could see some of the. I vividly remember Tyrell Ekov of the Norwegian team shivering while trying to shoot. Like it was that bad.
Yeah, it was. I didn't realize it got so blisteringly cold.
Yeah, funny that for a winter sport.
But even more so, like if it's too cold for the winter athletes, or not too cold, but. It was crazy.
It was pretty. It was pretty wild. Yeah.
The other event I got around was actually your big air. You see a ski and snowboard big air events as well. That was just great fun.
There was a bit of a story around that for New Zealand, wasn't there?
There was.
Was that one of your? Shall we skip straight to our top 3 moments? Because I reckon this is one of yours. It has to be one of yours. If it's not one of yours,
you mean the fact that New Zealand finally won a gold medal?
Woo!
Zoe Sadowski-Synnott in the women's slope style. Well, actually, we'll go to the big air first because she came second. She came silver medalist in that with an amazing first trick. But what I loved most about that was how excited she was to come second because of the Austrian, who absolutely laid something massive in the final run to pip her.
Yeah, that was cool. That was why the New Zealand New Zealand are winning the slope style was also one of my top 3 moments, was because when they got the score, everyone just dogpiled on it. Everyone was so excited. And to see that camaraderie across different nations, across different cultures, all coming together to share the excitement of just playing, of doing sport, of in the style of in the situation of big air and of snowboarding, do some freaking wild shit in midair.
Yeah,
like
do some absolute phenomenally dangerous stuff. And I think you get a lot of that in extreme sports more than others. They just get, no matter what it is, they just get around each other more so than you see in like your traditional track and field type sports.
Yeah, I guess because it's freaking cool.
They're just there having fun. If they win a gold medal, great.
Yeah, I that certainly must be part of it, and it was really wholesome to watch as well.
It was, and then of course that was followed up by New Zealand's second gold medal of the games.
You got 2? I only thought you got 1.
We got a second a few days later.
What?
Remember the other name I mentioned, Nico Porteous?
Oh yeah,
men's half pipe. He put a 93 down in the first run and was just able to hold on because the second run and the third run he wiped out. The third run he actually knocked his head quite badly on the half pipe.
Oof.
He's okay.
Yeah.
He won a gold medal, but that's not the way you want to finish your games.
Damn. But he won a gold medal.
He won a gold medal. So as long as he can remember that, he's fine.
And that was the ski half pipe as well.
Yes, it was.
Pretty wild. Awesome. I didn't realize that New Zealand got 2. Does that mean New Zealand was ahead of us on the medal tally?
Yes, it was.
Oh, that, what? What?
Because, of course, Australia won 1 gold medal this game, so I'm sure that's one of your 3 top moments.
It would be, but I'm struggling to remember when it was. Oof.
Well done.
I know. It actually, okay, so it was in the women's moguls. That was right. I remember watching that live. I did in fact see that. It was Jakara Anthony who topped every single heat in the moguls, every single elimination round. So the way that the moguls work is that you get scored on each individual run, and at least for the finals, it's basically like a 3-shot qualifying for Formula 1. You know, you got to get through the first period and they lose the bottom 6. You get through the second period and they lose the bottom 6, and then it's the last 6 who go down. And yeah, she topped every single session. She was the Lewis Hamilton of the women's moguls. It was pretty cool, I got to say.
Yeah, and she saved her best run to last as well, the quickest and the most style points as well.
This is the thing that I find really difficult about watching freestyle events, is that it's all down to being judged, and I'm not sure, especially for something like the moguls, which is timed as well as it is about style. I'm not sure how the barrier of entry to understanding the sport, as in like how do you know what's a good score and a bad score, and B, then the level of consistency within people who are judging the sport, because there was a question mark raised over the level of consistency in judging for the snowboarding events as well. Yes.
And that very much affected one of the Japanese riders, who everyone thought got horrendously underscored and still managed to come home with a medal, but only just.
If you're getting horrendously underscored and coming home with a medal, that's crazy.
I mean, horrendously underscored and then had to do another run.
Okay.
To get that middle spot. But I guess it's the same, like, I look at events like large hill or normal, like the ski jumping.
Yeah.
Okay, you might go 120 meters, but that only has a certain point score to it. The rest of it's on form and function.
Yeah, see, I don't get that. And for me, at least, like my own personal experience, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people who could very much dissect all of these little things and come up with a score that agrees with the judges, and that's fine. For me, it is a barrier of entry to enjoying the sport that I can't break through.
I think what they need to look at doing, and maybe they can still keep the scores, but just have it on a leaderboard. You can say, okay, this run was better than this run, therefore this run. Don't worry about presenting the scores to the public. Just have a list. So it can be like, hey,
I'm not exactly sure about that either. It's
a tough one.
It is a tough one. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers. Yeah. It's just that, and that's the same reason why I don't like, for example, gymnastics or diving. Like, similar sort of thing. It's all based on scores and opinion. Well, informed opinions, but still nevertheless opinions.
Yeah. Well, what I'd like, okay, I watched a little bit of the figure skating as well, and I want to get to that later because holy crap.
Oh, okay. I did not expect this to be coming from your mouth.
But what they had up in the score box, they had a little thing with like 7 or 8 boxes. And as each element of the skate was going on, that box would be coloured green or yellow or crossed out if the element was done or not done successfully or not done at all.
Yeah, okay.
So you could actually keep track of at least half the score that way.
Because in figure skating, you are required to fulfill a certain number of elements in a certain order. So like a certain number of skills in a certain order, right?
Yeah, so if someone's come up and done a triple axel successfully, great, that's a green box. If they've only done a double, then that could be a cross saying, okay, they've failed on this element, and then that contributes to half the score, then the other half is sort of like, how they time it with the music. And
so there's like a technical score and a like a style score, effectively.
Yeah, effectively, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
And that sort of solves that problem a bit. You still get that element of how are they scoring this as it's consistent, but it sort of alleviates that a bit.
Cool. Okay. I'm more okay with that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of figure skating in general anyway, but
there's more to talk about there.
Okay. We'll come to that. So your moments of the games, you've, of course, your 2 gold medals, are they a single moment or are they separate moments?
One moment.
One moment? Okay. Number 2.
The sliding. And I'm actually going to say the sliding course.
Okay, cool. Yeah, hit me.
Because I thought this sliding course was really, really well done and really well put together and led to some amazing stuff.
Cool. What particularly about it made you think it was good?
Having the spiral in there actually allowed for some really awesome shots. Because you had the massive camera pan for like 3 or 4 or 5 seconds as they're on the wall.
That looked pretty dope, I must agree. I would hate to be that cameraman, though. He'd be very dizzy after a while.
Incredibly dizzy. The course, I think, had some really awesome corners. The tail of the dragon was such a fun corner to watch, just to see them get up on one sled or up on the wall ride.
And they
great test of ability.
Because they called it the tail of the dragon as well, it was just commentary fodder as well.
It was. The Australian commentator, who's been commentating on sliding sports for longer than we've been alive, loved it.
Yeah.
And it's just spectacular. I really loved that course, and I think it's great. And it's the only course on this side of the planet, so I hope we see more of it.
Fingers crossed. I think it will be... I mean, again, don't want to get into politics, but I think it will be good to diversify the locations that these things go to. But, of course, winter sports in general is very Eurocentric because that's where the winter is. So that does make things difficult. That's cool. I on reflection, I do agree. I think that it was a cool course. Sweet.
Yeah, they did it well. What was your number 2?
My number 2. Well, I didn't even, that one. So sorry. Let me try that again. My number 2, I think, is a combination of 3 women who have done amazing things for a long period of time. So all of these women ended up with gold medals, but they're all my combined number 2 for different reasons. So the first lady I'm going to talk about is Irene Vost from the Netherlands, and I probably got that name wrong, and I bet Shumi's listening to me right now, smacking his head. Irene Vost, the only woman, or the only athlete, I think, to have a gold medal in 5 consecutive Winter Games.
Wow.
So she got a gold medal in Torino in 2006 in the 3,000 meter speed skate, a gold medal in Vancouver in 2010 in the 1,500 meter speed skate, a gold medal, 2 gold medals, in fact, in Sochi in 2014, and a gold medal at Pyeongchang in the 1,500 meter, and she went and got a gold medal in the 1,500 meter again. That is 20 years of gold medals in the speed skating. That's awesome. Wow. Yeah, wow. And
please tell me she's going on to 26.
Oh, I hope so. That would be nuts. She is 35, which means that her first gold medal, if I do my maths right, comes along when she was a 19-year-old.
Bloody hell. What were you doing at 19?
Moderating r/WEC. Brilliant. In a similar vein, on the short track version of speed skating, I got to mention Ariana Fontana, who became the equal 10th most successful Winter Olympian, with a gold medal and a pair of silver medals to go along with another gold medal from 2018, a silver at 2018 and 2014, and 5 bronze medals, all the way, again, dating back to Torino in 2006. So 10 Olympic medals for Ariana Fontana, and she took home a gold in the women's 500 meter short track as well. And then finally, on the skiing side of things, I'm going to mention Teresa Johaug from Norway, who somehow in her career that dates back to 2009 or 2007 even, hadn't got an Olympic gold medal, but she finally got 3 gold medals after winning literally everything else in the sport of cross-country skiing, like ever. So finally she's got 3 gold medals, and she won I think she won one of the events. I'm pretty sure it was the classic, the 10-kilometer classic. She won by like 1 second or something like that. It was crazy. Less than that, 0.4 of a second over a 10-kilometer cross-country time trial. So those 3 women combined for their longevity, for their success, is my second moment of the games.
That's awesome. That
was incredibly long-winded, but I just wanted to to mention all 3 of them. Cool. Number 3.
Number 3. The final lap of the large hill 10-kilometer Nordic combined.
Okay, what happened?
So, Nordic combined, if you don't understand it, is ski jumping, then across country. In this case, it was a normal hill jump, then a 10k cross country. The cross country, you get a time deficit based on how you do in the ski jump.
Yeah, so it's like a handicap, effectively.
Basically, yeah, and then the first cross the line wins. So, you have a Norwegian by the name of Jarl Magnus Ribbe, who starts 44 seconds ahead of his opposition. He's been in isolation for 2 weeks because of COVID. This is his first time on track. He's in the lead by about 25 seconds. He takes a wrong turn.
Oh, no.
So he has to double back and then keep going again. Other things happen in this race, and essentially you get to the last lap where there's a 9-man lead group.
Jeez. After everyone jumps off a hill, and then after what, the laps would have been 2Ks, 2.5Ks?
Yeah, so after 20 minutes of skiing, got 9 people in a group.
Far out. Okay.
And then just to watch that last lap go, you had the Jarl Magnus Ribbe drop back in the end to finish 8th. But even coming in down the last hill, you had 4 people fighting it out for 3 podium spots.
Damn. Right.
In the end, margin of victory was 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, nice. That's what you love to see.
And then it was 0.2 of a second back to 3rd.
That's like motor racing sort of gaps.
Yeah, it was just great fun to watch. And if you can watch a replay, and the guy who won, Jørgen Grabak, Norwegian, he had a 2-minute deficit.
What?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's on Jarl Magnus Ribbe.
Yeah,
okay. Second place was Jens Lars Oftebro from Norway. He had a 1:47 deficit. And then third place was Akito Watabe from Japan, who is not really someone you'd associate with, skiing, cross-country skiing, but he's been doing it since 2005.
I've heard that Japan is actually fairly decently into the ski jumping.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been doing this since 2005 as well, so he got a bronze medal.
That's nuts.
And I think that's his fourth, it's actually his 4th medal. It was his 3rd medal at the time. He won another one in the team event as well.
Nice.
So yeah, that was my 3rd moment. Just that last lap was great fun.
Awesome.
I'd recommend you watch a replay of that if you can.
Okay, I will try to find a replay of that.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
My last moment, again, it's not really just a moment. I guess I can call it a moment. My last moment was the Swedish biathlon women's relay team winning the gold medal.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. It has been really, really interesting coming into a Winter Olympics, knowing some athletes, like as in watching a Winter sports cycle, following the World Cup, watching the events, learning about the athletes, learning about the sport, learning about the teams, and seeing how it all functions. It's been very, very different. It's not something I've ever actually done before, being on this side of the planet where, snow is scared of the sun. So to be able to go into a sequence of events, be able to understand the sport well enough to make a prediction, and then for that prediction to then come true, in this specific event, for the team that I've actually been supporting and following as my adopted team, that was pretty cool. And so to then, as the follow-on from that, see the Oberg sisters share a gold medal on the podium was pretty cool, after saying, and much to Norwegian petrolhead's chagrin, that Sweden were going to win the gold medal in the women's relay, and him saying, no, it's definitely going to be Norway, and then for Norway to not even get a medal because they messed it up and Sweden didn't. It was great. So that's my medal, just gloating on Norwegian petrolhead.
Great moment.
Who doesn't love a good gloat?
We are Australian. It comes with the territory.
This is true. We are just good at sport. What can I say?
Exactly.
What about anything you didn't like about the Olympics? Any heartbreaking moments for you?
One big heartbreaking moment, and I want to get this person's name right, but it's the American, Michaela Schifrin. She was very well regarded going into these games. She's won 2 golds at Olympic Games. She's won events in downhill skiing and Super G, slalom, and that stuff. Yep. She crashed out in 2 events about 30 seconds in both times.
Oh, damn.
The first event was the downhill. She made it, I think, 20 seconds in and then missed the gate. That was it. She fell over. And then the slalom did the similar thing.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, and also the American media was incredibly harsh on her, and it's just, and we've seen this before with American media, they really hype their Olympic athletes to the point of craziness that when they fail and don't have a great games, they're treated absolutely miserably.
Yeah, it is part of the theatre of sport, I guess, but at the end of the day, part of the theatre of sport is sometimes things go wrong.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here you go. Yeah. It was the 5th gate of each run in the giant slalom and the slalom.
Okay. So that would have been the jump gate that we were talking about earlier.
Not the slalom. The slalom's
different. Yeah, entirely.
Yeah. Yeah. So she finished the Super G, which wouldn't be that big jump, but and it sucked to see because you could see she was visibly devastated.
The two sides of sport, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. On a similar note, it was actually very surprising for me to see one of the Dutch short track speed skaters, Suzanne Schulting, who got 2 gold medals, I think, and was in the final for another event, get so emotional about missing out on that 3rd gold medal. Because she was on. That's like she did an interview afterwards. This was after she was like super relaxed in the lead up. She was like dancing around, making jokes, just looking like the calmest thing in the world. But she said afterwards, like, she was on. She knew that she was going to win that race, but she got into a bad position passing someone, lost a bunch of time, and missed out on the gold. And like that was it. She was torn up about it.
Yeah, and another heartbreaking moment from the speed skating as well. The Japanese team pursuit women's team.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They're going to win gold. All they're going to do is get around the last corner. And the 3rd person line goes down.
Yeah, that was terrifying. Oh, that was so sad. And you could see the awful part for me was you could see how much her teammates, while trying to comfort her, were disgusted with what had just happened.
Yeah.
Because all it took was a moment and she was on the floor and that's it. And the rules in skating pursuit are different to the rules in cycling. So in a team pursuit in the velodrome, you only need to get 3 of the 4 home. Whereas in the speed skating, you need to get all of your team home. It's only 3 athletes. You need all 3 of them to get to the line. So yeah, as soon as she went down around the last corner, yeah, that was it.
Which was an absolute heartbreak. And feel sorry for them because they deserve that gold.
They did. They were going to win that gold medal. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They were going to win.
Yeah.
Damn, how good sport.
Well, speaking of how good sport, you want to talk about things we didn't like so much, and I have a couple.
Okay, there's one thing that I really don't like about watching the Olympics, and it's all the time that I'm trying to watch the Olympics, but I can't watch the Olympics because the TV's broadcasting some other bullcrap.
Give me some feel-good story about...
Chris, I don't want to watch a webcam of the family of this athlete celebrating. I don't care. I just want to watch more sport.
Wow.
Just let me watch sport, damn it.
Oh, that was your only dislike?
Oh no, I've got plenty. Like the fact that I was at work during the day, so I missed a bunch of stuff going on during the day, and the conditions meant a bunch of rescheduling of the cross country events, and the downhill events, and the Australian curling team got COVID, but was still allowed to COVID for some reason. Those were disappointing, and the fact that the 2 Australian downhill snowboard cross teams crashed out in the same race, that kind of sucked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mine were going to be a bit more brutal than that.
Okay.
The speed skating, there was the one night, I don't know if we were watching the speed skating this night, but there was Chinese skaters throwing markers at other teams and making them fall over, and judging was all over the place, and people being excluded for no reason. We ended up with a 7-man final. And I just look at that and just going, what on earth is going on here? You guys are seemingly losing control. You're not really explaining this too well. The commentators don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, that was a bit of a farce.
It was a bit of a farce.
Mm.
And yeah. The other thing that I really disliked happened at the same venue.
Yeah?
In the figure skating.
Go on.
Everyone's favourite nation at the moment, the Russians.
So we didn't want to get political.
No, it's not political at all.
No, remember, it's the Russian Olympic Committee athletes.
Yeah, of course.
We're not allowed to officially mention the Russian Federation because they don't have an Olympic team. It is the Russian Olympic Committee.
Yeah, very true. The Russian Olympic Committee, and there's no nice way or easy way to talk about the 15-year-old doping case.
Yeah.
It's just horrible on every conceivable level.
15.
Yeah. At 15, you shouldn't be taking concoctions to do something that may put your health at risk.
Yeah.
Russia were banned for a reason. And those reasons are still persisting. What the... Yeah.
Yeah. Good call. How good sport, though? How good is the Olympics?
But hey, let's finish on a positive note. I really enjoyed the games. I really enjoyed the ceremonies too.
The ceremonies actually weren't as dry as I was expecting them to be. The ceremonies are always like, oh, look at our culture and our celebration. But I thought they were fairly cool.
They were fair and understated. Even the torch was literally just a torch in a ring. It wasn't in a snowflake. It wasn't anything elaborate. It wasn't Kathy Freeman being thrown across the stadium on a bungee cord or something.
First off, it was Kathy Freeman walking up to a platform and lighting up the torch underneath a pool of water. Second off, it was Nikki Webster being thrown across the stadium. Come on, Chris. Get your shit together.
But, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a nice, nice Olympics. Nice to have sport. I love sport. How good sport?
Yeah. How good is sport?
We have been talking for far too long. We've been waffling on. We've been waffling on for 90 minutes. This wasn't meant to be like this, Chris.
Well, we should probably talk about what we're going to be watching in the next few weeks.
What are we watching this month, Chris? What are you watching? What's on your radar?
Well, the big thing that's started up for me now is Super Rugby Pacific.
Woo! And this is like actual rugby. This isn't any of that rugby league crap, is it?
No, this isn't This isn't a game of counting to 6 and turning the ball over. This is proper get in there, get the ball out, hit him up rugby.
Perfect. Perfect rugby. This is the rugby we like.
The rugby, the game they play in heaven.
I thought that was cricket.
No, that's actually what they say about rugby.
Oh, okay. I legitimately thought that is the title of a wisdom book or something along those lines. Anyway.
So, Super Rugby, we were 2 rounds in. Unfortunately, there's been a bit of a complication with COVID cases in New Zealand rising.
Okay.
So, the first 3 rounds have actually had to be sort of bubbled into Dunedin and Queenstown. And the games in Queenstown are being played at a local rugby club that has some of the most spectacular views of rugby I've ever seen.
Are we talking like Phillip Island sort of views?
Ever watched a game of cricket from Queenstown?
I think so.
I'm
I'm starting to remember. The only thing I can picture in my head right now is Table Mountain in like Johannesburg.
I'm trying to find a picture that's posted in the chat, but yeah, basically it's in a valley, hills on 2 sides. It's just fantastic.
That's pretty cool. I do love like aggressively picturesque sporting locations.
Yeah. And because they're not having any crowds, they can do that.
Yeah, cool.
But one of the other problems it's had is one of the new teams, the Moana Pacifica, who are based in New Zealand, have got COVID through their team.
Oh, blimey. Okay.
So their first 2 games have actually had to be postponed against the Blues and the Chiefs. They should be right this week to play my team, the Crusaders.
Yep.
Who were actually 2 games from 2, and I don't know what to do with this because they never start well.
It's weird. It's weird being in a winning team sometimes.
Well, look, we've won so many titles, but we never start well. It's weird.
Oh, okay. So you're like the anti-Tottenham.
Yeah, and we'll get to them in a second. But 2 rounds in, at the moment, the Aussie teams are looking okay, but that's because they're playing the Aussie teams in the Fiji and Drua, who aren't going to be much chop for the first year.
Yeah, okay. So, because the Aussie teams, Australian rugby is basically based around New South Wales and Queensland, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think the first games cross over from round 7 or 8 when the bubbles start to open up a bit more.
Yeah.
And you can actually get to New Zealand without too much problem. There's also I'm just so disappointed I can't go to it. There's a super round this year where every game's going to be played in Melbourne.
Oh, wow. And that's like all the teams, isn't it? Because Super Rugby is 12 teams, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, all 12 teams playing over the Anzac Day weekend.
Hot damn.
Culminating with the Melbourne team taking on the Crusaders. So, unfortunately, I'll be with trial then, so I don't think I'll be able to go. But we're watching.
Yeah, sick. That'll be awesome. It'll be cool to see some rugby. Like, rugby in Adelaide isn't really a big thing. We're on the wrong side of the Barassi line for that. The reference there is that in Melbourne and the Melbourne side of Victoria and South Australia entirely, it's all about AFL, not rugby. So, we don't. I don't think we have. Has South Australia ever had a rugby team?
Had a rugby league team.
Oh, but that's not. No, I'm talking about real rugby.
No, you haven't.
Okay, yeah. See, so yeah, and like even when we had the World Cup in Australia, I think South Australia, Adelaide only got like one of Australia's games, and it was against Romania or something.
Yeah, that's something like that.
Yeah, so it'd be cool to see rugby. Where can we watch if we're in Australia or New Zealand?
If you're in New Zealand, you can watch it on the Sky.
Yep. If
you're in Australia, it's all on Stan Sport.
I'm gonna get me some Stan Sport.
Yeah, Stan have absolutely come on board with sport. Like, they've got rugby, they've got Formula E, they've got WEC, they've got IndyCar, they've got the Super Series, the Speed Series, which includes TCR and that sort of stuff. The Super 5000.
Stan Sport. If you're watching, if you're listening rather, give us some money and we'll tell people about Stan Sport.
You really want to be beholden to Channel 9?
Oh, that's a good point. Actually, yeah. Okay, on other thoughts, don't give us money, just give us more sport.
Yes, please. But yeah, that's what I'll be watching. There's another thing we'll be both watching, I'm pretty sure, but you talk about what else are you watching?
Yeah, I'm going to be paying close attention to the Premier League, the English Premier League of soccer, of football, this month. It's gotten really, really interesting over the past month or so, and it's because we have a title race again, which was not on the cards for a little while, but it looks like it's going to go down to the wire once again.
I heard is that Manchester City were like 10 points clear. What happened?
So they were in fact 10 points clear, and then they drew against Southampton, who are actually having a pretty good season. They're in the top half of the season for the first time in a while, and then they lost a game to Tottenham, which was one of the most exciting games of the season, I've got to say. An absolute Harry Kane masterclass in that one. The first time he's turned up all season, let's be real. So that means that the gap at the head of the championship is 6 points, but Liverpool, who are in second place, have a game in hand and play Man City still. So it's potential that 6 points gets overhauled.
Okay.
So
there's been a lot of COVID disruption with the EPL, hasn't there?
There was a lot over Christmas as well. So some teams have played way more games than others. Like, for example, Leicester have only played 23 games, whereas Man City and my team, Manchester United, have played 27 games. So it's a bit all up in the air at the moment. But as we're getting closer to the end, it's getting a bit more normal.
Okay, so that's interesting. And of course, with the Premier League as well, you've got battles on both ends of the table.
Dude, the relegation battle at the moment is mental. So it was looking like halfway through the season that Burnley, who'd won one game to that point, and Watford, who'd won like one game, and Norwich, who'd won like one game, they'd won two actually, let's be fair, were just going to get cut adrift. But they've all started picking up points, and it's just compressed everything. So, you know, arguably from Newcastle down. So Newcastle is in 14th. They're actually on the second best form of anyone in the Premier League at the moment. They've scored, I think it's 13 points from their last 5 games. So 3 points for a win. They've won every game except for one, which they drew in the last 5. It's been mental.
And it's still only 4 points safe at the moment.
Yeah, they're only 4 points safe. They were doing that badly before. So they're sitting on 25 points. Norwich is probably they're in the worst position at 17 points. But like anyone from Newcastle down is in trouble here, including like Leeds United, who's just sacked them or left by mutual consent. Their manager, Everton, who sacked their manager and has now Frank Lampard. Watford, who sacked their second manager this season. Burnley's the only one in that bottom fight, and I guess Brentford, but they've only just been promoted. Who have held on to their manager in Sean Dyche. So it's going to be very tight at the bottom, and it's kind of like it's been a while since there's been a relegation scrap that's had this many people in it. So that's going to be cool to watch. I'm excited for that
because that relegation from the EPL is worth what, a couple of $100 million?
It's worth a lot, and the reason is that the broadcast rights are they just pump so much money in. I was looking at some data in terms of club revenue just from broadcast rights, and this would have been from 2018. And Huddersfield Town, who was the bottom place team in the Premier League at the time, was earning the same amount of money from broadcast rights alone as Barcelona.
Wow.
Yeah, like the Premier League is a big fish. So yeah, getting relegated to the Championship is quite a substantial financial blow to a lot of these teams.
I didn't realize Everton had Rafa Benitez and they sacked him.
Yeah, well, Everton had Rafa Benitez and he sucked.
Right, okay.
So like there's a whole backstory there, and like if you're a fan of the Premier League and you understand the rivalries between like the or even if you live in England and you understand the rivalries between towns, between regions, the fact that Benitez was almost a championship winning team a coach at Liverpool and then was now at Everton was like from the start, that was going to be a rocky relationship. And yeah, it just... My next door neighbour is from Merseyside. He supports Everton, his wife supports Liverpool, and he has been having the worst season.
It doesn't sound like a functional relationship based on that alone.
Good thing they don't base their relationship on that alone.
Good.
And then there's my team, Manchester United, who have just been playing so apathetically poorly that it's like, whatever, I hope we get fourth. We were meant to win this season. We had Ronaldo, we had Varane. We were meant to win. That sucks. Oh.
Well, you also sacked your coach, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Did you know that 8 of the 20 teams in the Premier League has sacked their coach this season?
Okay, so if you want job security, don't go to English Premier League.
If you want job security, don't be a coach of the English Premier League team. Exactly.
Unless you're Ange Postecoglou and you go to Celtic and turning around their fortunes.
Yeah, but that's not English. That's Scottish, and that's different.
That's true.
But yeah, no.
He's doing amazing over there.
Who was that? Sorry.
Ange Postecoglou, he's doing amazing.
He is doing some awesome things as well. Yeah, absolutely. Got knocked out of Europe though, which is kind of sad.
But they also don't care about that this year.
Yeah, fair.
It's only Conference League.
Yeah, but like, it's cool. It's cool to be in Europe.
Yeah, they'll be in next year when they win because then I don't know how the Scottish works in terms of their cup, but having won the League Cup, don't they qualify for Europa automatically?
So I think I don't know enough about the Scottish League to know for sure. I thought it was only a league position thing, but it may be different with the Scottish League because I'm not sure if they've actually won the league yet.
No, not the league. Sorry, their cup.
The cup, yeah, and I don't think there's Europa League or Champions League positions based on the cup win. I'm not sure that there is.
Okay, yeah, and if they win, they get win the overall Champions League playoff.
Yeah, which will be a big deal if they get into the Champions League.
Yeah.
What else are we watching? We're watching Supercars, of course, because that starts this weekend.
Well, there's another cricket event going on that I'd like to talk about for a few minutes.
There's always more cricket going on. Yes, Chris, go.
So we have the Cricket World Cup for women in New Zealand starting tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
You guys are arguably favourites, aren't you?
At home conditions, yes, but I really can't go past Australia.
Well,
I really can't. Having said that, we just beat Australia in an incredibly high-scoring warm-up game.
Rinsed us. You absolutely rinsed us. See, like I was about to say, you say that, but you just beat us by 9 wickets. God damn.
Yeah, chasing 321 and 43 overs.
You just absolutely rinsed us. Sophie Devine, once again, was divine.
Mm.
I love her cover drive. I have fallen in love with Sophie's Divine cover drive. It
was glorious. Having said that, though, and it's a warm-up game, Australia bowled 9 players.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Australia has 9 bowlers in their starting 11. That's the thing. I think the only batsman in the Australian team that doesn't bowl is, like, Meg Lanning, who's the captain.
True.
Yeah. Most of the Australian women's cricket team are arguably all-rounders, effectively.
But you could play 15 in the game. So,
that's true.
Warm-up game, but still, Sophie Devine knocking at 137. It's scary.
Yeah, she's continuing her form from the Women's Big Bash.
Yeah, and that was a game out at Lincoln, which is a great little venue. The other team I think I should keep an eye out for, you mentioned them, is South Africa. Absolutely.
South Africa are probably one of the up-and-coming teams in the women's championship, or the women's cricket world. I'm sad that Van Niekerk is missing the whole whole cup.
Yeah. She's great.
So Dane Van Niekerk was normally the captain. She captained South Africa to a semi-final for the last Cricket World Cup, which was in Australia. She is missing the entire World Cup because what did she do? She broke her something, tripping in her shower or something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the report on that now because it was such a really bizarre
incident. She has a habit of hurting herself in bizarre ways.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, here you go. Fractured ankle when she slipped on a wet surface at her home.
Yeah, and
3 months out.
That's crazy. And she's just come off as well, like an incredible season with the Strikers, my team for the Big Bash in Australia. And yeah, like she would have been one of the top run scorers and top wicket takers in the tournament had she not broken her ankle slipping on her house. Yeah, she had a habit of hurting herself in weird ways because a few years ago she cut herself while trying to cut an avocado and missed 2 games for the Sydney Sixers.
Yes, I remember that.
What a dumb way to hurt yourself. Poor girl. So that'll be on as well. I'm excited for that.
Yep, starts Friday with New Zealand versus West Indies, and it's basically 1 or 2 matches a day up until the end of March. Final on the 3rd of April.
So that'll be sick.
At Hagley Park again.
That oval seems to get around.
It does.
What else are we watching?
Well,
Supercars. I'll be watching the Biathlon, the last 3 rounds of the World Cup. Shout out to Norwegian Petrolhead and WBD Schumi, who are going to be at Oslo.
I think you're going to say WD-40 for a second there.
Yes, that's where my brain started going. No, 2 of our Wecathlon fam are actually going to a biathlon event together. Shumi's going from the Netherlands over to Holmenkollen in Oslo, so
Nice.
I'm excited for that. I hope to get a lot of selfies and a lot of pictures from that. So I'm going to be insanely jealous, though.
Have a WEC flag and the WEC flag playing, and like Cookie did to me at Daytona.
That is incredible. I've got to suggest that to them. Also, Spring Classic season for the cycling.
Yes. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, so the World Cycling Tour basically kicks off with what's called the Spring Classics, which are 1-day races or short races. So you've basically got like 3 different types of cycling effectively when it comes to road cycling. You've got like the classics, which are long 1-day events. You've got the short tours, which are generally a week, and then you've got the grand tours like the Tour de France, etc., etc. So a few of the monuments are coming up. The first one of which is Milan-San Remo, which is special because it is the longest course. It's something like 300 Ks from Milan to San Reno. The week before that is Strade Bianche, which I'm sure I've absolutely butchered. But then when we get into April, we get into the real stuff like the Hell of the North, Paris-Roubaix and Liège-Bastogne-Liège and the Paris-Nice and those big, amazing, incredible cycling events of cobblestones and muck and grime, and these are the stories where cycling really comes to fruition. So I'm going to be excited for that. Milan San Remo, I think, is on the 14th of March, the 19th of March. So yeah, 293 kilometers of racing. So that'll be sick. I'm excited for that.
And it's just a brutal hit out for early in the season as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like for some cyclists, these are the events that they target. They don't care about the Grand Tours. They don't care about, the World Championships or whatever. They care about winning one of these monuments.
Yeah, and for proof of that, Paris-Roubaix a few years ago, if you haven't seen the video of when Matty Hayman won that.
God, they were showing that. They were showing repeats of famous Roubaix races, and I just flicked on one of them, and it happened to be that one, and I'd never actually seen the finish before, and I was just off my tree with how exciting that was.
Yeah, that was. Watch the backstage pass that Orica Greenwich did. They just put it into perspective. Yeah,
exactly. And the crazy thing about a lot of these races as well is these races have been going for over 100 years. Grand Tour, as much as we like to talk about tradition in motorsport, tradition in cycling is just old. It's it goes way back.
Yeah. Well, I think that some of these races, there wasn't the Tour de France initially a non-stop race.
I hope not. Far out.
It's literally, here you go, you get from here to here. First person wins. See ya.
Possibly. Man, that sounds like an awful time.
That's probably why doping via the use of brandy was such a, and all that sort of stuff.
Back in the day before health.
There's another sport that I'm going to be keeping an eye on that sort of starts later on in the month as well.
Yes.
Netball.
Okay.
Which is not something you would think I'd be into, but I actually played a bit of netball as a teenager growing up.
Dude, that's cool. I like netball. Yeah. I wish it was more of a thing that guys could play.
Yeah.
Although my knees and ankles are very happy that it's not.
Yeah, I wasn't a bad goal defender. Oh, sorry,
nice.
Ring defender. Sorry. So yes, Super Netball starts in Australia towards the end of the month. They've just had their pre-season tournament taken out by the Melbourne Vixens. So that's going to get underway, and that's on Foxtel for the first time in a while. So
cool,
a bit more exposure there, which would be great.
Nice. And for parts of the world that don't have netball, it's basically, how do we describe netball?
Basketball, but without the bouncing and no backboard, so you have to be really accurate.
And then there's certain like areas where you're only certain people are allowed. It's a very interesting and weird sport, and like it seems to be only a Commonwealth thing.
Well, the English.
Yeah, classic.
So that gets underway.
Yet another sport the English invented for us to beat them at.
Basically, yeah. And the other thing I find interesting about it is 3 of the teams are run by organisations in other sports.
Yeah, I was aware of this. Don't the Adelaide Thunderbirds, aren't they run by the Port Adelaide Football Club, the Power?
They are, but but not directly.
Okay.
I don't think. But the 3 I was thinking of, the Giants Netball, run by Greater Western Sydney AFL. Collingwood Footy Club, run the Collingwood Netball Club.
Oh, so they're actual teams labelled as...
And I actually spoke to Eddie McGuire about this one time. He actually said, yeah, it's what we want to do as a club to just, we want to have as many sporting opportunities as we can.
Wow. That's really, really cool.
To be as part of a whole club. So you have like netball, wheelchair, footy. Basically, they have like 7 teams.
Wow. I did not realise that. I was aware that there was some link and some partnership between netball clubs and some footy clubs, but I did not realise that they were as explicit as, the Collingwood Netball Club and that sort of stuff.
The Collingwood, but netball. And the other one's the Sunshine Coast Lightning, which is Melbourne Storm. And the NRL.
Hang on, run that one past me again.
So, Sunshine Coast Lightning.
So, up in Queensland?
Yeah. Run by Melbourne Storm.
Melbourne Storm in Victoria?
Not as crazy as it sounds, because they're fetus club based up there as well.
Okay, you can't see me, but I'm doing the sort of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's all connected thing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to figure out at the moment.
Yeah,
cool. Okay, sweet. That'll be interesting. I haven't watched netball in a long time. You know, my mom tore her ACL playing netball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there you go. There's a fun fact for you.
Great fun fact. Yeah, to give you an idea how integrated it is, the website collingwoodmagpies.com.au takes you straight to the netball club. They share the logo and everything.
Wow, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So plenty to watch. In the month of March.
Yeah, bring it all on. And then, of course, the other thing I've got to watch is a baby.
Oh, yeah. Damn, your life is about to change.
It is.
Oh, boy. On that note, thanks for joining me, Chris.
A pleasure, as always.
Thank you for listening, everyone. I hope we haven't gone too far off the rails. I hope through listening that you find something interesting that you may not have encountered before, and I hope some part of our ramblings made any sort of sense. I've been Michael Zalavari. Thank you very much. Peace out. Yeah, blame Tottenham and also laugh at Tottenham because after beating the champions one week, they went to Burnley, who was literally bottom of the table and lost, which is just the most Tottenham thing to do.